Fontana, Real World NF Scorpio, back with another video. Today we're going to talk about why and how having low SC is detrimental to the INFJ.
Yeah, I was very interested reading in the book. You used an example of there's an area of the brain called the OFC.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, it mediates, in part, it picks up on physical emotional cues, and that's a big part of how we trust each other.
Right.
And as I was reading it, I was thinking, well, that's something we certainly can't do online and can only happen face to face. And so, yeah, it sounds like to have these authentic conversations, we need to be in contact.
Well, you see, as you and I are speaking to each other, Ellie, we're tracking each other's face. And our ear muscles are actually adjusting themselves automatically to hear not just what's being said, but also the tone of voice in which being said. And you will nod when I say something, or I might nod or smile when you say something. So communication is as much about these nonverbal cues, which are mediated through our nervous system, as it is about the verbal content. Now, none of that exists on social media. It's not genuine communication. Human communication is almost meant to be face-to-face.
Now, you see, a lot of the times when you go online and even on YouTube often, okay, and I'm not tooting my horn or anything like that, but I'm just saying most people come from like an academic, from an intellectual, from a breakdown lens of the functions, right? So when they parse between personality types, they go in from like more of like a, I wouldn't say philosophical, but from like a scientific approach, right? So they go down and like if you see like Eric from talking with him, famous people, they'll talk about the different, functions, even like C.S. Joseph, right? Everything is like on a charted and everything is okay. Problem is that for us INFJs, okay, we have to realize that everything works synergistically. Intuition, it's different for us than it is for someone else who doesn't have intuition up there, okay? FE, feeling, okay? Feeling emotions, having that understanding of what other people are going through. That's, a lot of people don't have that, especially if they're sensors, okay? You also have the SE for us, but again, the SE pairs with the FE because the FE for us, that feeling and creating harmony sits higher for us, okay? So for those who have FE lower, they may not be readily available emotionally in terms of helping others and so forth and so on. They may do it, but it may take a back seat. Whereas for us, that's our primary thing, is to really help and give back and so forth and really feel the others. But here's the thing. This is why it's important that having a developed SC is extremely important, because what is SC, okay? Again, you can sit here and parse it scientifically, and but if you're not doing it in real life, if you're not explaining it in real life, then it does you no good.
We talk here a lot about attention to detail. I know you do. You doolies hear it all the time. You guys are trying to train them. People told you the same thing. Most of the time you're going, why does this matter? You know, the fact that your socks are rolled a certain way isn't what matters. It's the fact that you pay attention to detail. These are my buddies. Chico Lavelle was crouched on the front seat of his F4 at Nellis Air Force Base waiting to do a ground egress because they had a fire behind him. Somehow he and the backseater had gotten the terminology confused, and when one of them said get out, the other guy thought he meant bail out and ejected him. And he was decapitated by the canopy rail. Attention to detail. Is it important? You decide. But when you leave here, you better have it.
Okay, and that's the problem, because people don't apply these things in real world. They sit there and parse these things, and they live by the book. So when you ask them, okay, let's people watch. Let's sit here, and I want you to anticipate what that person is going to do. Okay, that person's sign, that person's body sign right there. What is that person saying? What is that person meaning? And what is that person conveying to the other person? And then how now is that person picking that up? You know what I'm saying too? And now what are the potential effects or reactions from that person? You see, and it's like people won't be able to provide that unless you really understand people and you've been exposed to a lot of people and you understand the environment. So SE is your sensory, your observation of the outside world, okay? Like there's no other way to put it. You can parse it scientifically, but if you're not applying it to us as it pertains to people, then what good is having these functions, okay? And then we can't sit here and be like, oh, well, you know, you cannot rely on functions, you cannot rely on MBTI, it's just this, okay? But at the end of the day, if you're gonna be productive, if you're gonna function in life around people, then you must have a means to do it, right? Not just sit there and chart stuff. All right, so cut that. Let's get to it. SE is basically your observation skills, your ability to observe your surroundings, okay? So if you do not have good SE, then you basically can't pick up the vibe of the room. And it's not through osmosis, it's basically through your visuals, you visualizing and seeing and observing what's happening, what's going on. As a DJ, as a performer, right? I'm a performer in terms of relying on the direction of the crowd, the mood, the atmosphere, everything. So which means that if I'm DJing and I'm not aware, I'm not visually observant of the different people and their moods, and if they're feeling the music, if they're not, if they're eating, and then therefore you shouldn't be playing certain type of music because they're not ready for that. They're in their eating mode. If you know, you walk into a room and you all like excited and you're pumped up to give a story, but you realize people are studying and they're not doing their thing, that may not be the right time to do it. A lot of people, they don't have that SC because they're so like hyped up and they see everyone in there and they don't realize, bro, like not everyone is on that level. Calm down, relax. It's the same thing when we can get caught up in this whole dwelling thing, right? When you go on forums, and SE is being able to go into the space, and not only is it for you to relate to other people, but it's also to be able to observe and understand what vibes are you giving off to other people in the room. So if you are now coming in and someone is posting about, oh, how do you feel? Do you feel lonely? I just took a test and I got the score. And you going in there and then you're contributing to this loneliness thing, whatever. How do you think now it's affecting everyone else? Because then now everyone else comes in, it's like, oh yeah, I feel that. And now you have a whole bunch of folks who are just feeling lonely and validating each other for feeling lonely. But guess what? It's because of your low SE. It's like you don't understand the cause and effect of that initial response, because then that's like a cascade effect, and it affects everyone else around you. Listen to Jordan Peterson as he says this.
Because it isn't merely that your fate depends on whether or not you get your act together and to what degree you decide that you're going to live out your own genuine being. It isn't only your fate, it's the fate of everyone that you're networked with. And so, you know, you think, well, there's 7 billion people in the world. We're going to peak at about 9 billion, by the way, and then it'll decline rapidly. But 7 billion people in the world, and who are you? You're just one little dust mote among that 7 billion, and so it really doesn't matter what you do or don't do, but that's simply not the case. It's the wrong model, because you're at the center of a network. You're a node in a network. Of course, that's even more true now that we have social media. You'll know 1,000 people, at least over the course of your life, and they'll know 1,000 people each, and that puts you one person away from 1 million, and 2 persons away from 1 billion. And so that's how you're connected, and the things you do, they're like dropping a stone in a pond. The ripples move outward, and they affect things in ways that you can't fully comprehend, and it means that the things that you do and that you don't do are far more important than you think. If you live a pathological life, you pathologize your society. And if enough people do that, then it's hell. Really. Really. And then you can decide if that's a place you'd like to visit, or even more importantly, if it's a place you'd like to visit and take all your family and friends. Because that's what happened in the 20th century.
You see what I'm saying to you? So it's the same thing for how I develop my SC. Again, we talked about in before in terms of different jobs, exposing yourself to different things. As a police officer, I would go into different calls. Okay, I would go into burglaries, I would go into alarms, I would go into domestic violence. I would always have to be observant of my surroundings. Who is there? Who is behind me? Where's my backup? I had to also be aware of the fact that the dispatcher's waiting for me in the event that it was a serious threat or a serious event. I'd have to clear the air and say, hey, 10-3 the air, no traffic on the radio until I can figure out what's happening here. All these this is SC. When you're driving, you actually know, okay, I'm at this street, because what happens if something happens and someone needs to come to you in order to rescue you? If you're in a fight with the suspect or whatever, you need to know your surroundings. All this is SC, like being able to be part of the world. But again, we now apply it mostly to people. Okay, so because as I said in my previous videos, the SC sends the signal to the FE, so then it can come out. Whereas other people, SC, they send their signals to action. Okay, whatever that they're doing in order to perform the hands-on, mechanics of whatever that they're involved in. But for us, it's all people related. That's why it's like you need to use that intuition, you need to use that FE, and you need to use SC. But if you don't have good SC, if you are not aware and cognizant of your surroundings, the cause and effect of your behavior, the energies in the room you're observing, right? If you're not, then you're basically, not being your best, right? You're not at your optimal level. Okay, and so how do you do this? You need to go out there, you need to be observant, watch energies, see energies. If I'm at a gas station right now, you look around, see who's going on, what's the mood of the actual environment. Are people kind of help, are they happy, or have they been there for a long time working behind a counter? Sometimes it's like I use my FE to lighten up the mood of like a store clerk. So I walk in and I know it's late at night, like as I'm driving, and I'm like, okay, I really feel he's kind of like jacked up, so I don't want to cause any tension. So I'll be like, hey, what's going on, how you doing? Hey, almost getting off, just so that I can ease the tension, because my observation sees that the person is just like drained, he's ready to roll. And so I try to like dab in there just to get a feel for it. Okay, that's basically SC. Like you gotta, but it's SC for people. It's not SC like SC DOMs for the physical world. It's, we're using energies, but we're applying it to people. Again, it's the signal that we generate from observing people and energies in order to give back through our FE, right? And then from there, all of that is stored. So when you now are able to interact again, and you see these energies, you feel these energies, it's already there. So a lot of it is not intuition based on osmosis or coming down from the rain. It's basically you recall this information because this is who we are. We recall these type of incidents because we store them as we go along, and we're more observant and aware. That's why we people watch, whereas other people, they don't care, so they don't store it. What they store is other things like the physical world, so they store that, whereas we don't. You see what I'm saying to you? We store interactions, again, depending on who you are, how you've cultivated your functions. But generally speaking, if you're an INFJ, you prioritize your functions. However, you cultivate them in order for them to work synergistically together. Okay, so SC is very important to have it because it's your bread and butter. I'm claustrophobic, so how does SC help me? When I walk into a room, or into a bathroom at one of these gas stations, I don't lock the door. A lot of times I keep it open because I don't want to get locked in there, and I don't take the elevators, I don't take stairs. And if I open the door and if I see that it doesn't, I can't get back in, I make sure that I I can, you know, lock it or open it from the inside, because I've had times where I came down a stairwell and all the doors were locked because you couldn't gain access to the stairwell, and I about freaked out. You see what I'm saying to you? But again, these heighten my senses, my sense of awareness, okay? And all this is SE for sensory, all right? And we're off. I'm late. I gotta get to this hotel before midnight. Johnny Fontana, Real World NF Scorpio, we out.